Hey everybody, my name is Jessica Ryan Slawson. I was born on July 12th, 1993 to two wonderful parents. When I was born, I was diagnosed with a chromosome disorder called Turner syndrome. And what that is a chromosome disorder where that only occurs in females, and they only have one X, as a female is supposed to have two X's. In some cases have half of a second X, but in my case, most of my cells were 45X, which means I had no partial second X. And this is kind of how my story started. So the day I was born, one of the nurses who's familiar with Turner syndrome noticed that I exhibited some of the signs. I had a red neck, and I had puffy hands and feet. And I guess my hands were so puffy that I actually didn't have any fingernails when I was born. There was just skin there. I don't know how long that lasted for, because as long as I can remember, I've had fingernails. So the nurse got me tested, and to decide if you have Turner syndrome or not, they do a test called a karyotype, and that's where they take your blood and they freeze your cells at a certain point in division, and they look at it, and that's how they decide if you have Turner syndrome or not. Turner syndrome affects 1 in 1,500 live births, and it actually affects 2,500 conceptions, and 99% of fetuses with Turner syndrome are spontaneously miscarried or aborted. They don't know why there's such a high rate of miscarriage. Doctors think maybe it's because of some of the health problems that come along with Turner syndrome, but they're not really sure. The health problems that I've had are, I had coarctation of the aorta and I have a heart murmur. A coarctation of the aorta means that there's a narrowing in your aorta. I actually had a piece of my aorta that was completely cut off. It was like twisted up like the end of a balloon after you put air in it. And so, since I had Turner syndrome, I was brought in earlier for a checkup than normal babies. I was brought in at 2 weeks old, and that's when the doctor noticed my heart murmur, and that's actually when they noticed that there was something more wrong with my heart than just that. So I was actually put into USA Children's and Women's Hospital in the NICU overnight, and then the next morning I was life flighted to UAB in Birmingham, and that's where Dr. Pacifico performed a heart surgery. And to fix it, I think he just cut that piece of my aorta out, and then maybe made a graft and I don't know what, but he somehow fixed it and got the ends to come back together, and everything's been fine with that ever since. Actually, we had one scare when I was 10. I had to go back to Birmingham and have a heart cath, but everything was fine. And so what I do is, depending on where I am, sometimes I have to go every 6 months to the heart doctor, but usually I have to go once every year and just make sure everything's still working good and everything's looking good. Also, when I was 4, I had a malrotated kidney, and so that's also common with Turner syndrome, and they fixed that, and I stopped seeing my urologist, my kidney doctor, when I was 10. But after the surgery, they just ran tests to make sure everything was working correctly, and I haven't had any problems with that, so that's been good. Really, I haven't had any health problems since they've been fixed. Some of the other health issues they look out for is making sure your thyroid levels stay where they need to be, other heart conditions, and of course your kidney. And they also look for development disorders, learning development disorders. And I didn't really have any of those. I think I do have some spatial awareness problems. When I was first learning to drive, I definitely parked way farther behind than where I really need to be, and I've always had kind of problems judging where stuff is. I run into stuff a lot. But my life has been relatively normal. You go, other than a lot of doctors, a lot of doctor visits. When you always go see an endocrinologist, and they deal with your endocrine glands and hormone things. They also deal with things like diabetes and Down syndrome, and especially Turner syndrome. Now I went to an endocrinologist called Dr. Reddick. He's a really great doctor. He's always taking great care of me. And it's really important that these girls get diagnosed as soon as possible. Not a lot of people know this, but Turner syndrome can go undiagnosed for a very long time. A lot of girls don't get diagnosed until they're supposed to be going through puberty and everything's not going the way it should be. And so their parents get worried and take them to the doctor, and then they find out. But the reason it's important is not only for their health, but there's no cure, but there is some treatments that we can go through that just kind of help you live a more normal life. So when I was younger, I think when I was 5, we started what's called growth hormone shots. And it's a shot that gives you medicine to help your, I think it's supposed to increase the number of osteoblasts you have. And osteoblasts are cells in your bones that make your bones grow. They make more bone. And it's supposed to help you gain some height, because one of the main features of Turner syndrome is short stature. I'm only 4'10", roughly. I don't think I'm quite there yet, but so we are very short. So that's one thing that really helps, and also just to keep a track of your health, because we can have thyroid problems where our thyroid levels get kind of out of whack, and that can make you very sick. So that's another important reason to get diagnosed early, as soon as possible. I was very lucky to be diagnosed at birth, since one of the nurses, recognized I had some of the signs. And it's just important to be able to get them the correct medical treatment that they need. And also, we can have some learning disabilities that, if you catch them early on, we can watch for it and get help. When I was in 3rd grade, one of my teachers, her name is Miss Copeland, she urged my mom to get me tested for ADD, which I did have. I took Adderall until I was about 14. I'm doing a lot better with it now. It's definitely harder not taking the medicine, but I didn't like taking the medicine. I felt like a zombie. That's the best way I can explain it. You don't want to eat. You're just kind of like, you don't want to talk to anybody. You're just kind of like focused on one thing. I didn't like the way it made me feel. So it does get hard. I definitely notice myself getting off track sometimes, but I'm getting a lot better at that. So that's one thing that I think I got from having Turner syndrome. I also have bad spatial awareness. I run into things a lot. And when I first started driving, I remember, and so I still do this to this day sometimes, I'll park really far back. And I don't know why. It's just one of those spatial awareness things, and like I said, I run into stuff all the time. So that's one thing that comes with Turner syndrome that you learn with. The biggest thing that comes with it that really bugs me is infertility. Women with Turner syndrome don't go through puberty normally, which is another reason to get diagnosed as early as possible. So I started out taking hormone replacement to give me estrogen, because some girls with Turner syndrome produce some levels, very low levels of estrogen, but they did the test on me and I don't produce any of my own estrogen. So I had to take a hormone replacement. I think we started that when I was about 13-ish, roughly, maybe about to be 14. And I started that, and then after you do that for a while, my doctor put me on birth control. So now that's what I do now for my hormones, is I take birth control, and that works out pretty well. I have everything normally. I have growing up, I was a really big tomboy. I really appreciate my parents because they never made me feel different. And it's funny because as a kid, when I started elementary school, I could tell I was different and I didn't know why. And I really hated elementary school. I used to call my mom a lot and tell her to come get me. That didn't feel good. And it made me really frustrated that I knew I was different and I didn't know why, because my parents didn't want to tell me that I had Turner syndrome until I was older. That way I could really understand it and not freak out that I was gonna die or something, that everything was taken care of. I was getting the proper medical treatment and I was gonna be fine. I just had this chromosome disorders I have to live with, and it's not that big of a deal really anymore. But, I just knew I was different. I couldn't really put my finger on why, and I think that really made me angry, and I had a lot of frustration about it. And I was definitely what we call a late bloomer. I was in elementary school. I was in special ed classes for math and reading. I had a really big problem with that. I also had to go to speech class because I used to talk like Sylvester. So that made me feel really bad, I guess. I didn't like it because I had my special ed teacher, her name was Miss Riley, and she would come get me out of class during math time and reading time, and everybody knew who she was, so I got picked on a lot. I got picked on for being short, and they called me stupid, and I couldn't tie my own shoes. That is one thing I learned in speech class, was how to tie my shoes. Another thing I got picked on about was I was a really big tomboy when I was little. I had two older brothers, and an older sister. And my sister is my half sister. I also have a half brother, but he lived with us. But since she was my half sister, we had different moms. She grew up in different places, but mainly in Texas with her mom and her stepdad. So she came down during the summers, but she wasn't around a lot. So I was a really big tomboy. And so that was one thing. I used to want to be a boy or something. I don't know. I used to come up with nicknames for myself. And I would always wear boy clothes. I guess just because I was just so used to my brothers, and we'd wrestle and play sports. So that just kind of led me to that, and so I got picked on for that. And so that's kind of really the hardest part that I had with having Turner syndrome, is kind of being in that awkward, like knowing something's wrong but you don't know what it is. You know you're different but you don't know why, and that's really difficult, but I really appreciate my parents because they never lied to me. They were always very open with me and honest, and they always took great care of me. And even though it scared my mom half to death, she always let me play outside like a normal kid. I played sports. I played softball a lot. I played softball for t-ball, and I played coach pitch. And I played 1 year of fast pitch, but I didn't like it, so I quit. And that really bugged my mom because of my heart problems. She was always scared that something was going to happen to me from running around so much, out on the field. But that was one thing. To any parents who are just now finding out that their child has Turner syndrome, or for any girls who are just now finding out that they have it, it's really important. It's not only important it's important for any child to have very supportive parents, but it's even more important for girls with Turner syndrome. My parents have always been, not just my parents, but my entire family, and not just my immediate family, my extended family has always been very supportive of me. They've always, treated me just like a normal person, and loved me for me, and they've never, nobody's ever said anything negative about me being short or having any problems, or anything like that. They've always just accepted me and loved me, and that's really important because that helps build your self-confidence and your self-esteem, and you really need that when you get into the real world and people aren't so nice. It really helps to have that confidence, so it's something really important, for anybody. So definitely these parents who are just now finding out, that's one thing that it's about the best thing you can do, is just try to let your kid live a normal as possible life, even though your heart and your mind are screaming at you. Don't let them do it. Just put them in a bubble and keep them safe. Let them experience things just like normal children, because I promise you, when they grow up, they will thank you for it, because you didn't treat them any differently, and that's what they need. Because I hate, when I didn't find out, my parents sat me down when I was 10, and they explained to me that I had Turner syndrome and what that meant, and what we had to do to take care of it to keep me healthy. And I didn't want to tell anybody for a really long time. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to tell anybody because I felt like if I said it, it was real, and that's just crazy. But I just didn't. And plus, when I finally did start telling a few people, I could just tell, like, they stopped looking at me normally like they used to. Now they looked at me with this, like, oh, I'm so sorry for you kind of look, and I hate that. I hate when people, because it's not something to be sorry for. I'm a normal person. I'm living a normal life, and I'm happy. There's no reason to feel sorry for me. And I've been very blessed. I've always had a great family. I have great siblings, great parents. My grandparents are awesome. My whole family's very great, and they take great care of me. And I was a really big brat when I was a child, because I was very spoiled, because as much as my mom didn't want to, she did kind of baby me a lot, because not only am I the baby, but with Turner syndrome, she's so scared that something was going to happen to me, so she babied me a lot. That's definitely coddled me, and so I was very bratty until I found out when I was 10. I really changed my attitude. I stopped taking things for granted, and I started realizing that it's not the right way to be. And I think I finally was just, when I found out, I was finally so happy. I rejoiced, because I wasn't happy that there was something wrong with me, but I finally could put my finger on why I was different. I had an answer for these children who were picking on me, and I had an answer for myself. And that really took away the anger that I had, and it took away all the questions that I had, and it kind of helped me find myself. So my attitude really changed in that, and I'm really grateful it did. And because I was very rude and mean, and I wasn't nice to people who were trying to be nice to me, because like I said, I had all this pent up anger. Even at such a young age, I just had all this anger and anxiety about why I was different. And everybody gets bullied, but it was just different. It was on another level. And so that's really what helped kind of break me out of that. And so that's about the time that I started doing a lot better in everything. When I got into middle school in 6th grade, that's when I started. I was really bad with my grades. I made a lot of B's and C's, and even some D's. In elementary school, I just didn't care about school. I didn't like it. I wasn't very intelligent. I needed help trying to get my mind to work that the way everybody else's did. Like I said, I was late bloomer. I think it took a while for my brain to kind of catch up with my age. And so when I was in 6th grade, I was the person who made AB honor roll, and I got all kind of awards, and I actually got accepted into the National Junior Honor Society, which was so awesome. And I got put in advanced classes my 7th grade year, and ever since then I went through high school, the rest of middle school and high school in advanced classes. And now I'm towards the end of my sophomore year in college. I'm actually going to be a nurse. I go to the University of South Alabama, and I'm really excited. And this is the best advice I can give to anybody. The biggest problem I have with having Turner syndrome is we are infertile, which means we cannot have any children of our own. There's some studies that show that if somebody donates the egg, we can carry a baby. So in vitro, they say you may be able to conceive your own child and have that go to pregnancy, and that bothered me at first. I really didn't like that fact, because every little girl dreams about, when she's young, she dreams about having a husband and little children, and what it's going to be like, and what they're going to name their kids. So it is tough to get over that, and you feel like you're not normal, and you feel like people are going, when you get older, men are going to look at you like you're nothing, like you're worthless, because you can't give them, a child. But then I realized, I can adopt. I can really change this child's life. I can give this child a life that they were never going to have if it wasn't for me. And that really shined a big light for me. That really gave me peace, because I started thinking, all these blessings and all this love that my parents gave me, I can give to this child who wasn't going to have anything. And that really warms my heart and makes me feel better about the whole situation. And I know in time I will find a man who will love me for me, and he'll take all my flaws, and even the Turner syndrome, and he'll still love me even with all that, and he'll love our adopted child. So I try to keep that in mind. And like I said, my parents treating me normally was really, really, really helpful, because once I found out, they never let me use that as an excuse anymore. There was no longer an excuse for a reason I couldn't do things. It was no longer an excuse to have a bad attitude. this is what you can use to motivate you to do things, to do all these things that they told you you'd never do. And especially drive. I really hated that. Everybody told me I was never going to be able to drive. And I remember I took driver's ed in 10th grade. I was 15. And it was just horrible. I had this one girl named Kayla McLeod. She heckled me so much about not being able to drive. She was in my group. We drove in groups, and everybody would switch at a certain point when the teacher told us to. And I was just I was a bad driver. Nobody had taught me anything about driving before. I didn't even have my permit yet. So it was really difficult. And that scared me for a while. I didn't want to learn. But eventually I got out of driver's ed. And I got my permit. I actually passed my test the first time. And I got my permit. And my mom took me out. And she started teaching me how to drive. And I started getting better and better at it. And so finally when I was 17... I failed my first driving test, but I finally passed the second time and got my driver's license. And that was like the greatest day ever. I finally felt like I accomplished the first thing that everybody said I could never do. Everybody said, oh, she's never going to drive, and now I was finally doing it. And I started working when I was 17 at a place called Greer's. And it's a local grocery store here in Alabama. And that really was like a really breakthrough moment for me. I was really shy as a kid, and once I started kind of finding myself after I learned about having Turner syndrome and everything, I was still really shy, but this job really broke me out of it because, you've got to talk to customers and everybody. And this was the first time that I was just like, I don't care what you think, I'm going to be me, and I'm going to be happy about being me. And if you don't like it, then oh well, I don't need you in my life. And so I just broke out of my shell completely. I was just talking to everybody. I made new friends. I love everybody I work with mostly. I mean, we're like a little second, I like to call us a dysfunctional family, because that's really what we are. We're all crazy. But it was really great. And I started become really good friends with all our customers and everything, and that really made me see things in a different light, that people aren't bad. Just because I had a bad experience with people when I was younger doesn't mean that everybody's bad. It just means that not everybody understands about people being different. And so that was really when I started feeling like, I'm a normal person. I felt like I was living a normal life. I was just like every other 17-year-old. I was driving, I was going to school, I have a car, I have a job, and so with that job I bought my very first car on my own. I paid $1,200 for this 95 Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra, and it was blue. And I liked it for a while, but eventually I really hated it. And I finally saved up some money, and we got together, and I was able to get me a new car that I have now. I have a 2007 Saturn that I love. It's white. And I go to the South, and this is really, like I said, the last 3 or 4 years, I finally felt like I was happy with myself. And that's important, and it really helps with your family being supportive and being there, trying to give that kid, the girl with Turner syndrome, the most normal life that she can have. My parents really hated it, especially my mom. She was always so scared, but she let me play sports. I played softball and basketball. I did cheerleading for my brother's football team, and I was always out with the neighborhood kids running around all crazy. And so I really think you need to do that for your daughters, because it makes a difference when now that I'm almost 20, I look back and I'm just glad that my parents never let me use my disease as a cop out. They never were like, oh, okay, we understand, you don't have to do this because you're sick, or blah blah blah. I had chores just like my brothers. I had to go to school, and I had to make good grades or I got in trouble. And I'm I was a normal kid, you know. I fought with my parents, fought with my siblings, got in trouble, did stupid stuff, and I still am, you know. I feel more normal now than ever because, like I said, you know, I work, I'm in college, and you know, I drive everywhere. I handle bills on my own, some of my bills on my own, and my parents help me out. I still live with my parents, but you know, I'm only 19, so I guess we can forgive me. But I'm really looking forward to the future and to finding that perfect person for me, and settling down and becoming a nurse. I kind of always wanted to do something in the medical field when I was younger. For a while, I really liked the solar system and the stars, and I was really interested in all of that. And then I kind of wanted to be a vet. I love animals. I have 2 dogs now, Lucy and Roby. They're awesome. Lucy's a blue-heeled Australian Shepherd mix, and her puppy's Roby, but he's got miniature dots in him, and he looks just like a miniature dachshund. But then I gave up on that, and eventually, when I was about 16, I decided I wanted to be a nurse, and so my life's going great, you know. And I still have a checkup. I don't have to go to an endocrinologist anymore. I just see a regular adult physician, and if they decide I need to, then I will go to an endocrinologist, but so far everything's been good. And I still have checkups with the heart doctor, and so far everything's going good with that. And I do, as you can tell, I have problems with my eyesight. I'm nearsighted, so I go to the eye doctor. I usually wear contacts, but I haven't had contacts in a while, so I've been wearing my glasses. But I have a appointment soon to go get some contacts, which I'm really excited about. I love my contacts. It's a lot different seeing through contacts than these glasses. But I really just wanted to make this video to raise an awareness for Turner syndrome and to let everyone know that we can live a normal life. Now, everybody's that deals with Turner syndrome, you know, it's a different story. They have their own story to tell, because we don't all have the same problems. You know, some of us have more of the physical features, you know, broad chest and really low hairline, and palms, deformities with our extremities. Really, I just have mostly the medical part of it, but we've been handling that well, and I feel great. You know, I'm a very busy, active person, because like I said, I go to college and have a job, and also, you know, spending time with my family. My brother's actually here right now. He moved to Kentucky with his girlfriend, and so he lives there now, and he's down here for about 4 or 5 days. So I've been spending time with them, and that's been really fun. And so I just, you know, like I said, I want to make this video to let everybody know that we can live a normal life. We are normal people, and we appreciate it if you treat us like one. It really, like I said, I really hate when I tell somebody that I have Turner syndrome and they give me this pitiful look, you know, oh, bless your heart, you know, oh, poor pitiful you, and I'm not pitiful at all. I actually feel very blessed that I have Turner syndrome, which I know you're thinking crazy that I say that. But I don't know if I would be who I am today without it. I don't know if I'd be I don't want to brag on myself, but I feel like I'm a really good person. And I feel like I try a lot harder just because I do have Turner syndrome and all these odds are against me, especially with having ADD, and you know, it's really hard for me to focus, and I didn't really like school in the beginning. So, you know, when I was young, I didn't think I was ever going to go to college. And so I'm amazed that I'm actually thriving. I have a 3.2 right now. I'm doing really well. I'm actually applying for nursing school in April. We'll find out in May, and if I get in, I start in August. I'll start in August, and I'll graduate in 2015. I'm really excited about that. So, my best advice to the parents who have daughters with Turner syndrome, and to the women who may have just learned that they have Turner syndrome is there needs to be a lot of love and compassion and support. Parents, I know this is always a big one, but you need a lot of patience. We're gonna definitely test your patience, especially when it comes to school matters. I was really terrible with school, and I always needed my mom's help with my homework, which it can get stressful when you're a mom and you have three children, sometimes four, and you're going to work. You had a full-time job. Both my parents actually worked full-time jobs, and so she'd come home from work and cook us dinner and help me with homework and bath time. And I was always really close to my mom because every time I was in the hospital, she stayed with me. My dad, of course, would stay as much as he could, but he worked a lot, and so me and my mom got really close, and so I always wanted her. For a long time, she had to see me to sleep. So definitely, just try to be supportive and be helpful, and don't ever put your child down. Don't ever underestimate them, because I promise, you underestimate them, and they will definitely show you what we can do. And for the girls, just know that everything is going to be okay. You will eventually start living a normal life. I know for a long time, I didn't feel like I would ever be normal. And I never felt like, for a long time, I felt like I would never be normal just like everybody else. I just felt like I'd always be super different and weird, and I would never learn how to fit in, and that's nowhere near true. So just hold on. I know it's tough, but just hold on, and you will get through it, and that one day you will find a man who loves you for you, and you'll work through everything. And I want you to know that you are beautiful no matter what, and that we are definitely Turner syndrome sisters. That's what we call ourselves. For anybody who doesn't know, every girl that has Turner syndrome, when we meet each other, we call each other Turner syndrome sisters, just because we have a bond. We're all going through something that only we understand. And that's another thing, is that parents, if that have daughters with Turner syndrome, definitely try to reach out to people. Definitely look me up on Facebook and try to reach out to other people in your area that have Turner syndrome, and let them meet your daughter, because that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't remember how old I was. I guess I was about 8 or 9. I used to go to church with my Aunt Michelle, and I met this girl named Bethany who also has Turner syndrome, and so she's been just like the coolest person ever. She's awesome for me to talk to, and I eventually went on to meet other Turner syndrome girls, such as Cecilia and Elizabeth and Angela, and they have all been really helpful to me. I can go to them for advice anytime. It also helps that they're older than me, so that they're all going through stuff that I'll go through later on in life, such as marriage and figuring out how you want to approach starting a family and all that. So I love them to death, and I'm glad. Our Turner syndrome conference is in Dallas this year. Dallas, Texas, July 12th through the 14th. So definitely try to make it to that. I'm hoping I can go. Me, Bethany, and Cecilia are supposed to be doing a road trip. I'm holding on to that to go to Dallas. So I hope to see you guys there, and I hope that this video helps anybody out there that is going through this. Just know that everything's gonna be fine, and you can be happy, and just take care of yourself. Thanks, everybody.